Welcome to the Mouthcast, live and direct from North London. We're in a room full of flashing lights and buttons and levers and pulleys. Bernard Butler,
hi.
Welcome to the Mouthcast. Or, in fact, thank you for welcoming us, because we're in your studio.
Yeah, pleasure.
I always got the impression, although you clearly enjoyed yourself on stage, that the studio is where you were happiest.
I think a bit of both, really, but it's just been more of... it's just the way it's gone that I've ended up in the studio more, you know, just from my trajectory and sort of... I guess, yeah, I got myself out of a touring band quite early on and then left myself thinking, now what? You know, and just got into studios, and just, I mean, I love studios. I love both, to be honest. People often think I've retired and from playing live and all these kind of things, but, you know, for a long time there's no real platform for me playing live, and I'm not really that interested in touring, you know, as such. You know, you could, if you got me in to the Brixton Academy and it was sold out on a Saturday night and I wasn't doing anything and I could just walk up on stage and pick up a guitar, that would be amazing. But get me to sort of you know, Carlisle on a Tuesday evening and have me spend the whole day there and the next day and stuff, and I don't know, the appeal sort of starts to wane.
You seem very at home here. There's a lot of it is clearly home for you.
Yeah, it is. It's quite a lot of the time. Yeah, quite a lot of the time my kids end up here in the other room playing while I'm sort of trying to finish off and stuff. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's funny, this place, because I've been here 3 years and a lot of the time I'm on my own, and because it's not you know, a big grey professional studio, you know, lots of people going around and stuff. It's just me. I'm the only person here. It just becomes a bit like one of your rooms at home, or it's like a kid's bedroom or something like that. You know, put your stuff around everywhere, and I don't really notice that, to be honest, until other people come and start sort of wandering around and looking at the place and stuff. So yeah, it's great. You know, I mean, the one great thing about this is that I try and sort of sell to people to come here. I've always been frustrated that you go to big studios, you walk into a big empty room that's nice and tidy, and the leads are all in one corner and there's some mic stands there, and you think, where's the guitars, you know, or where's, you know, and there might be a piano if you're lucky or something, but it's just a big empty space, and it's quite sort of quite daunting for a lot of people, particularly you know, inexperienced, you know, people inexperienced the studio. You walk in here and well, as you can see, you know, it's just full of guitars, amps, everything's just lined, everything's ready to go. The drum kit stays, if you go into the other room, the drum kit stays in the same place because there's nowhere else to put it, so no one's allowed to bring a drum kit, because that's my worst nightmare, but someone bringing a drum kit, because I have to move that one. But the mics stay on that. The piano's always there with mics on it. The guitars are always, you can just pick up. So basically you can walk in here and start making a record within 10 minutes, and that's, as a musician, that's what I've always wanted to do. And any musician will tell you how frustrating it is. You turn up at a studio and then you wait 4 hours for the engineer to start drawing diagrams and plugging in leads and stuff.
The same thing that you said about Tuesday nights in Carlisle, you know, spending all day waiting to...
Exactly, yeah, all day hanging around to sort of go and do your thing for half an hour or something. And yeah, I really like it here. It's great. I'm very lucky to have it. And I guess I've collected guitars and amps and all sorts of piles of rubbish over the years. Strange keyboards off eBay, and I don't know really, just rubbish generally. And but particularly the guitars I'm very lucky to have, because half of them I couldn't afford now, because that's the way it's gone with the guitar market. But yeah, people can come in and all they've ever had is a Squire Telly or something, you know, and they can pick up amazing guitars and try out different guitars they've never tried, you know, and that they probably couldn't dream of buying, you know, and I can say, okay, you pick up this and I'm going to plug you into this amp, have you heard this yet, and you know, so forth. Do things like that people, you couldn't possibly do in a professional studio, because you just wouldn't have all the gear there.
What got you into playing the guitar? What were your early experiences of it? What first attracted you to it?
I mean, really, really early on, when I was really young, I think it was seeing people like Roy Orbison and Johnny Cash and Glenn Campbell, all of which my dad listened to. That's my earliest memories of it. And you know, yeah, I just remember sort of big archtop guitars and semi-acoustics and stuff from when I was really small. I mean, specifically what got me into playing guitar was Johnny Marr. That's just the truth. I mean, I was into blonde. I don't know. First of all, I'm the youngest of three boys, so my oldest brother is a music obsessive, and he bought all the music in the house and brought in. So basically, when he was, I guess, 14 or something, I was listening at 10 to what he was listening to. 10, is that the age gap? About, yeah, maybe 9. So yeah, when he heard the Velvets when he was 15, 16, I was hearing it when I was 11. So that's quite a big thing, you know. And he was buying Blondie records, you know, and I guess around 1980, the Jam and Madness, the Hot Specials, whole Scar thing. Yeah, he was bringing all those records into the house. And then when the Smiths happened, I was 13. He would have been 18. So the Smiths, Joy Division, New Order all happened at the same time for him, and I heard it all immediately. And I was 13 then. So that's really crucial. I mean, that combination of the Smiths and New Order at the same time. You know, Blue Monday came out the same year as This Charming Man and Hand in Glove.
They're almost year zero in a way, aren't they?
Exactly.
For what's comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So 83, 84, yeah.
So what was it about those two bands in particular, musically, that sort of piqued your interest?
With New Order, what I found about it was music I'd never heard before, and I couldn't imagine. When I heard Blue Monday and Confusion, those two, which came out in 83, I just couldn't really decipher how this was done. You know, remember we didn't know about computers then really and stuff, and it was...
the sleeve of Blue Monday was like a floppy disk.
Yeah. And, you know, I just thought it was really beautiful, really colourful music, something you could just get... you know, sort of swept away with. I remember just sitting lying on the floor in our back room just listening to Blue Monday just over and over, as kids do. I mean, you know, as 13, 14, it's a very vulnerable age, you know. It's just like all sorts of switches are going off in your body and in your head at that time, and so everything, it's just, you're just like a sponge and you're absorbing everything, and it's just, everything's magical. And so that's why. And I mean, the New Order, I mean, I always think New Order has a big impact on the way I make records, I think. And the way I view the idea of making records. Martin Hannett, who I didn't really know about at the time, but came to know about his influence on Joy Division and the early New Order records. Just the way he went about it, the idea that you could take a group and make it sound in the studio something that couldn't be played all at the same time. I really loved that, you know. And the Smiths, I remember hearing them on John Peel, and I thought it was very beautiful melodic music. I don't know. I think one of the things that attracted me to both those was it's very melodic, very pretty music. I mean, there's nothing avant-garde about the Smiths or New Order, you know, for the sort of legends of alternative rock that they are. There's really nothing that difficult about them. It's very pretty, very accessible music, very melodic. I liked that. I played the violin between the age of 8 and 14. I was very interested in classical music at that time. I was from a family of obsessive Catholic churchgoers who sang obsessively at the top of our voices at church. Hymns was our biggest music all through until I was like 10, and I think all of that had a big influence on the fact that I like music with melody, and I'm really attracted to things with big melody and emotional music, very emotional and quite melancholy music. Quite a lot of the time.
Picking up on something you've said, jumping to the single that you recorded with David McAlmont, which had that huge swell that you're perhaps talking about, the church music. There was that joyous sound in there. To me, I think it's a great song, but I think it's the sounds that you got as well. The sound of that record is equally as important. I always refer to that song as Motown Plus. You know, it's like enormous soul sound.
That was written right after, literally, I don't know, the day after, the week after I left Suede. I mean, that was an incredibly emotional time for me. The year had been really emotional. My dad had died, and the whole thing of being in the band at that time was just fraught with emotion. And we made a very emotional, very dark record in Dogman Star, and have written all this quite fraught and emotional rock music. A lot of it based around riff guitar playing, I think. And just getting towards the end of making that record, I was starting to write stuff that was just different. And I just, so much music pouring out of me at that time. I was just writing every single day, writing and recording. And so even through the recording of the record, I just had piles of stuff I was writing that was never going to get looking, really, because it was just a bit ridiculous. And I was listening to Dusty Springfield and Scott Walker, stuff like that, really, and that's what came out. There was a record by a band called Swing Out Sister, which I really loved. You Were On My Mind, Always On My Mind, I think it's called. Yeah, You Were On My Mind, I forget the name of it now. But I always used to love that. I loved strings, yeah, I love things that had strings in it.
Because they had that whole Parisian cafe thing going on, didn't they? Swing Out Sister.
And, God, loads of things, I don't know, that time. Yeah, I think I became interested in things that weren't just... I thought I've done the guitar player thing and just doing something that was a full sound. I was really into drums. I've always been into drums. From the minute I heard Reel Around the Fountain, that's the first thing on the first Smiths album. The first thing you heard was the drums, and I always loved that. I always said that even before I met Brett, always wanted whatever my first record to start with drums, and it did. Both the first record, and we both agreed this. The Drowners had started with drums, and then later on the first Suede album started with So Young, which is the drums as well. That was very deliberate drum patterns and thought out. I'm just really into drums. I've always been into drums.
So why did you not take up the drums?
Because I'm terrible at it. I've got a drum kit here. Every morning I come in here and just play drums on my own for half an hour, and then just think, right, great. Glad no one heard that. Let's make sure no one ever hears that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a big emotional thing. I mean, that song was weird. I wrote that as a piece of music, a complete piece of music. I mean, exactly as you hear it on the record, it was written. The drum part was how it was. The string line was how it was. The guitar part, everything was just how it was. The structure of the song, and just had it knocking around for a couple of months before it eventually found itself to David McAlmont. And before I met David, and I met David the same day I met his drummer, a guy called Mako, a Japanese guy, who, I just said, well, I'll have him and I'll have him as well. It's a really great record, yes. It's a nice thing to be able to say that, because I feel slightly removed from it. It's one of those things that people... It's out, like, Suede is such a thing of itself. It's not just about the songs and the music. It's a I don't know. It's such a big thing,
Like Smiths.
Well, yeah.
There's more to it than just the songs.
Exactly, yeah. And with me and David, what we did, it was always just about, let's just do a song and do a song here and there, and it became more than that. But at the time of doing Yes, it was just like, let's just make a great record, just for the fuck of it, really, and just not... I was very insistent that it was nothing to it wasn't going to be about the sleeve or the video or there was no tour, there was going to be no t-shirts, it wasn't going to be let's start up a big business of a band, and it was just like, let's go in the studio and make a brilliant record and just not care at all. And it's just had this enduring thing. People just all, not a week goes by without someone saying to me, that they got married to it, or just a lovely record. And I think the thing is that with more so with a group, you get into a group and you get into the songs as well, but you get into the idea of a group, like you become a fan, essentially of any artist, or singer or whatever. But with what we did with Yes, it's people don't really know who we are or what else we've done a lot of the time. They just might know that song and might have it on a car CD or something. And so it's a really lovely thing. I mean, it's ridiculously uplifting and sort of fuck you of a record. And, if I'd only done one thing, I think it probably would have been that, because it's just one of those things. I think if you can make people happy for, 4 or 5 minutes of their life every now and then, I think that's quite a nice achievement, whoever you are.
And it was a massive release for you after the... it's kind of down in history, really, that Dogman Style was a really difficult album to make for you personally, but also for the band as a whole. You mentioned a moment ago the idea of a band being a business. Did you find that was what wore you down, the lifestyle and the business connotations of being in a band?
There was a lot to do with that, yeah. But looking back, we were total amateurs compared to what you get these days. Most bands do look like accountants and behave like accountants, and not like. And some
of my best friends are
exactly, yeah. Some of my worst enemies are as well. One in particular, I won't go there. Never the twain. But I think we were fairly sort of amateurish at the end of the day. We were just a mess, business-wise and everything. But Christ, I mean, at the end of the day, that whole Sorry, I'll turn it off.
It's probably your accountant.
My accountant, yeah, straight through. Making that record, Dogman Star, most of it wasn't a nightmare. Most of it was actually really good. You know, I mean, I had really great memories of it. You know, and writing it. I had a little flat in West Hampstead, and writing piles and piles of stuff there, and to my heart's content. And it was quite a nice thing. You know, I've never met anybody else, put it this way, where I could write sort of reams of sort of quite odd music and in quite a sort of haphazard way. You know, these over distorted demos of all sorts of nonsense all over it, with guitar lines flying everywhere, and bring it over to somebody who'd the next morning come back and it was like, yeah, I've done this one and that one. And then I'd say, oh, but you didn't do the other 5. Okay, well, I'll give you another 6 now, shall I? And that was, at the time, that was disappointing. You know, what you wouldn't give now to have something like that. You know, I don't think many people work like that. And me and Brett did work like that. You know, I'd give him like 4 songs and he'd come back and he'd love 1. So I'd take back the other 3 and change the key or speed them up or something and give them back and keep doing that. And it was a really joyous time. And, you know, I mean, I don't... Obviously, there's lots of bad memories. But at the end of the day, a lot of the bad memories, for me, are attached to the fact that what I was trying to do was very emotional. And what I was trying to do was connect emotionally with everything. I felt like, however haphazard that is, I was just absolutely throwing everything, you know, I had at it. And me and Brett were just living very different lifestyles and time shifts at the time. And, you know, the whole thing just got in the way and just all sort of cracked apart. And an awful lot of people have spoken about it who I kind of resent the fact that they just weren't there and weren't really part of it and really don't have a clue. And the whole story of it is littered with people who just really don't have a clue. And I think even the rest of the band didn't really have much of a clue what's going on. I don't think, you know, at all. And that's probably my fault, but, you know, that's the way it is.
Like you say, that partnership was really special. But you seem to have that classic songwriting thing, like the Lennon-McCartney and, again, Morrissey-Marr, that there was actually, alongside the creativity, was kind of tension and a bit of, perhaps not personal antagonism, but artistic maybe. There was a bit of push and pull in there.
It's artistic. There's not really a tension. It's not like there's a tension between you, but artistically, what you're trying to do, yeah, we're deliberately, of course, I can look back now and say, of course we want to be Morrissey, Marr, Jagger, Richards, Lennon, McCartney. Of course, why would you join a band? I don't know why anybody would want to join a band now and not want to be as good as that. You know, that's the way I viewed it at the time. I was growing up thinking, well, I'm going to do this, and that's who I'm going to be. And looking back, that seems arrogant and just a bit bonkers, ambitious. But we just became like that, and particularly over time, after you know a couple of years knowing each other, we became more and more like that. And then we became more and more obsessed with with taking things to the nth degree, and in many ways. Well, but both ways, and we both did it personally and artistically in sort of slightly different ways. So artistically I was doing it in a probably more sort of emotion-driven way, and Brett was starting to become more an abstract lyrical themes, and I think personally I was trying to be as purist as possible, but making just taking every opportunity I could to try and challenge absolutely everything. I mean, really stupid, really. And I think he challenged everything about lifestyle as well. And we went we both went much too far. But you know, we did it. You know, that's the thing. I don't. You know, we both did it. You know, and we're friends, and you know, it's good. We made good music that people love, and I think we achieved something. I mean, I definitely was kind of take this as far as I can, and then I'm just going to walk out the band. And I was always thought that there's going to come a point where I'm just going to take it so far that I'm on the edge of a cliff and I'm teetering, and then I'm going to fall. And that's the way I viewed it when I was on stage with Suede, and that's all through the band. Don't forget where Suede came into the musical landscape. There was, on the one side, rock music, you know, we still had Sting and Elton John and Phil Collins and stuff, they were the Brits, Annie Lennox and all that kind of stuff. And then you had the indie scene was just piss poor, really, really dull music. People weren't ambitious at all. people would be hiding behind their fringes and sort of. We felt that when we listened to Transformer, or we listened to, Let It Bleed, or any of the great things we loved, that these were great records that everyone should hear. The same way that I view the Smiths, that we all view the Smiths now. They were seen as an alternative group at the time, but it's now they're just part of the great canon of British music. And we felt that all the alternative music, its job was to come out of the underground and wash away Phil Collins. That was the job of it. It always was. That's why Morrissey ended up on Top of the Pops, instead of Wham or whoever else could have been there that week. That was the whole point of it. That was the victory, and that's what you were giving. Someone had given that to us when we were kids, and we wanted to do it again to other people. That was the point of it. And if we weren't going to do that, there was no point in being any other kind of band. But nobody else at that time was like that. Nobody else understood it, and nobody else wanted to do it. And we're the only people trying to do it. We took it very far. And part of that plan is then you implode like everyone, and you do bonkers things, and you take it as absolutely far as you could. And so that's why I ended up in that situation. And then I'd sort of turned around at sort of a few years later and thought, oh, hang on.
When you say that was always in your head that was going to happen, or you were going to do that, was that something that you were scared of, or something that you were thinking was inevitable, or was it in your head that, right, I'm going to make a grand romantic gesture?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't scared of anything. I was absolutely thrilled by it. I was on fire with it, thinking it was just the best laugh in the world. The minute I saw, you got to remember, for me, the Beatles made X amount of records and split up and didn't reform, and it's perfect. The Smiths made 5 albums and didn't come back. It's perfect. There isn't any. I'm a fan, but when I look at that career, you just think, oh my God, you did all of that within 5 years and 4 years even, and then left it. What you don't think about is what happens to those people personally after that event. You just think that's just stuck. It's like a sort of a badge on history that will never be moved. And that's what you wanted to achieve, and that's what I wanted to achieve. And I did do it in a tiny little way. So then you grow up and realise, actually, what I've given to other people and done there, that's quite, it's given people a legend, and it's given people a myth, and it's given people sort of some great music. And I think it's stood the test of time. But actually, what about the rest of my life? What about me? That's the hard bit, really. But you don't think about that when you're 23, 24. You just don't care. And I didn't care at all. I absolutely didn't care. I didn't care about anything or anyone. I just wanted to be absolutely the best. And if there was a second when I wasn't going to be the best, I didn't want anyone to know about it. And so that's it. And it ruined my life, quite frankly.
When you and Brett did get back together for the Tears, for the band of Tears, that kind of thing that you're saying, that you'd left that mark on history, if you like, and that perfect 2 albums, and you'd left people wanting a bit more, or wondering what would have happened if you'd have carried on, or is that why you didn't use the name Suede?
That was the most naive thing that's ever happened in music, the Tears. Because it was a great idea. The two of us, we were just like, let's form a band. We were very casual about it, and we just started making music like we always did. And we just didn't really, particularly me, I didn't think for a second. Don't forget, I was out of the band for, 10 years or more by that point. I can't remember. I hadn't been anything to do with Suede at all. Hadn't been to see them or anything connected with them at all. In my own little world, and I just didn't think for a second anyone was going to care that much. Obviously I knew people would be interested, but I didn't think it'd be in the same way. We just started making music. We decided, let's just make some music, call it. Obviously we didn't dream of calling it Suede or anything like that, or playing Suede songs, because it wasn't what it was. Suede are a band, the guys who joined after me had made a massive contribution and written songs and been in the band, toured for years, and all the rest of it. Had been the most insulting thing in the world for me to go and pretend I was part of Suede just because I was standing next to Brett, and I wouldn't have done that. And we just wrote these songs and formed a little band, and we're just really happy doing it. And suddenly it just became down on it, particularly. It's really. What we didn't realise, we went out on tour, and we'd been booked to do shows in the summer, and we didn't know that everyone had just been gambling behind the scenes that we were just going to start playing Suede songs. So they booked us high up the bill, even though we'd said, no, look, that's not what we're doing. We're just not doing that, go and see something else, you know. So it booked us on quite big lineups and festivals and stuff, with the gamble that by the time the summer came around, we would have changed our minds, obviously, and, you know, everything would have been simple for everyone. And it's like, and we didn't. And it became a massive problem, because they were like, oh, so people were more and more just tense behind the scenes that we weren't playing ball. And it's like, well, we never said we were going to play ball. That's not what, you know. And it was really frustrating for me, because having been out of that system for years, happily so, and really happily living without any of that, those kind of people around me, you know, suddenly I found myself with them again. And it was really frustrating, because loads of stuff just started happening again. And it was really difficult for Brett, because he'd come out of a very big band and gone straight into this. I think it was probably pretty tricky to just start suddenly. I think it was a come down, basically. He was very used to just playing Suede songs. You know, everyone just conspired against the two of us. It just felt like everybody was just watching us. Every interview we did, people just literally asking us the most obscene, insulting personal questions about each other in front of each other. Just constantly talking about, do you like each other? Do you like him? Stuff like that when we were together. And it was just excruciating, you know?
Too much attention and no room to breathe. Yeah. Too much poking around in the dirt.
I mean, just the stuff that people just, no one asks. No one sits, you don't sit in a pub and look at your mate opposite, your two friends or people who are partners, who say, do you like him? What do you think of him and stuff? Nobody does that, but it was fair game to do it to us. And then if we got wound up, then just report that as well. And it just became no fun whatsoever. It just became just absolutely no fun. In the end, we did end up playing a Suede song a couple of times, which I remember just sitting on the bus one time, and we just had all this trouble of people like agents and managers on the phone going on to us about this, you know. And I just said, right, fuck it. And I remember going to learn, what song is it? The Living Dead. I had to, because I'd never played it since I'd been in the studio recording it, and I had to go and learn it on the bus quickly. And I grabbed him on the bus, and said, right, come here, sit down, sing to this song, and I played it, and then we played it that night. And just the two of us, but it was just so frustrating. It got to the end of, like, we had a run of touring and stuff. We were just like, let's not do this for a bit, you know. Even though we'd written new songs that were good and stuff, it's horrific. So I didn't speak to him for months after that, maybe a year or something, you know. And then, you know, when it sort of died down, we now sort of happily just have fun, you know, just actually people who talk to each other like everyone else, you know. And I'm absolutely certain we'll do stuff again, you know, at some point and in some way. And in many ways, what happened after that is kind of the heat came off Brett, and he went off and did solo records, which is what I thought he should have done anyway. And he went off and played, you know, to sort of a couple of hundred people with a piano and a cello. There was no big press thing. There was no big major record company behind him or anything. He just did it, and he learnt to be an artist and made some terrific solo records. And on the one hand, I thought, oh, good on you. And on the other hand, I thought, fuck, you know, that's actually what I wanted to do with you. You know, go and do that without any fuss. Just go and play some songs somewhere on a piano or on a little band or something, and no one be screaming hysterically.
I was at the reunion show at the Albert Hall. What was that, 3 years ago or something? And there was a frisson that you were going to show up. I was so glad that you didn't. It shouldn't happen.
He phoned me up before that, actually, and just said, just wanted to let you know we're doing this. And I said, thanks, you know. He's very good about, you know, just like, we understand what we've both been through, more than people give us credit for as two people, you know. I remember just thinking, you know, it's nice of you, but I just said, that's great. Why are you telling me? And I just want to let you know in case people ask you, because he knows it's just a constant bloody thing around both of our necks, you know. Whatever happens with him, people are going on to me about it. Yeah, I made a flippant comment at that time. So someone said, are you going to go and see them? And I said, oh yeah, I think I'll go, and I'll chop peanuts in the front or something, just for a joke. You know, I was messing around. I'm a human being. I have a laugh, you know. And it was just this thing that I'm going to go and throw things at Suede because I'm that bitter and fucked up about it. It's an obsessive thing, that group. And it's really hard to get your head around how people view me.
After McAlmont and Butler, you released a couple of solo albums, People Move On and Friends and Lovers.
Yeah.
And obviously the impetus behind those was creativity, but how did you find the experience after coming out of the Suede thing and the McAlmont thing?
I mean, again, it was just a bit of a fuck-up, because my whole life, this is how this is coming out, isn't it? But it was great fun, you know. I mean, I got the chance to just go in the studio and just do whatever I wanted, and it was great. And I really enjoyed making those records, particularly the first one. And they kind of wanted me to become a bit of a sort of David Cassidy figure for them or something, you know. I don't know, just they wanted me to sort of be a pop star. And this is the time of Oasis being huge, don't forget, and stuff, and they needed to keep having stuff like that. I don't know. It felt a bit like that, and I just wasn't really up for it. And it was another situation where people wanted me to be something, and I was just like, look, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do all this sort of nonsense. I don't want to do ridiculous pop star things. Thanks for letting me make this record, but I'm just really not buying the rest of it. And that became really difficult. If there's anything I'd go back on, making the first record, I'd have sung it again 6 months later. Because I'd never sung before, and I was just recording songs, and that was quite tricky. I loved the songs, but I think I would have just took 3 or 4 songs off it and rearranged it a little bit and cut things down a little bit. But it's in the days when lots of people were making 80-minute CDs, because it was like, wow, you can fit this much on a CD, let's do it. And then we thought, actually, why would you want to do that? So I'd cut a few songs off, people move on, sing it again. And but as for the music and the words and music, I think it's a really lovely record, and there's some really lovely things. I'm very proud of it, some of the things on that. The second one, the biggest mistake of it was I took advice to go and have it mixed in they saw me as going to be a big star in America, which I never understood really, but they wanted it mixed by Andy Wallace, because he mixed Nevermind, and I was going to be the new Kurt Cobain, which is really obvious, isn't it, when you look at me. And we finished it, and then we went off to Andy Wallace, and I sat in New York and watched him mix it, and it was great what he did. He's an amazing guy, but it just sounded half the record it could have been. It just sounded too straight and mainstream, and it was a bit of a shame, because at that time Creation imploded the day it was supposed to come out, so it just all went tits up, and it was awful. Yeah.
It did seem to disappear, that second album.
It just didn't. Had no record company, and that was the end of it. No label. And after that, I just couldn't be bothered for a while, to be honest. I'd sort of, by that time, moved on a little bit, and I just couldn't be bothered. Things had started to change, and it'd become 2000, and I don't know. I started writing songs again for the next one, and they were totally different. Set up a little computer. I had my first sort of computer studio at home, and learned how to do that, and was discovering all these colourful things I could do, and realised I didn't want to sing on it myself, and that's when I did Bring It Back with David McAlmont, and that's where that came from.
Production is obviously hugely important to you. You know, the manipulation of a song in the studio. It seems to me that you're interested in the possibilities that a studio offers, and you have worked with other artists writing and producing. Do you think you'll ever make a solo record again?
Probably.
Will it be vastly different?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, everything's always different. I don't know really. I'm a bit of a chameleon in that way. I like just finding things. I don't really think about what my trademark is or what. That's the thing about being a band, isn't it? You have to stick to your formula for being in the band, and what made it work on day one, let's stick to that, or let's try and rediscover that. And I've never wanted to try and rediscover things, you know. I like hearing lots of things. I like meeting lots of different kind of musicians and singers and stuff. I'm pretty blessed with that. You know, you couldn't get much different voices between, say, Brett and David and Duffy or something like that, you know, and lots of other people have worked with Pete Doherty or something, and I think that's good.
What are you on at the moment?
At the moment, I'm producing a band called Frankie and the Heartstrings from Sunderland, and I'm nearly finished that, and that's terrific. I've been doing a new band called Teleman, who are really great. I've been working with a guy called Daly for about 3 years, who's got a fantastic voice, and that's quite electronic. A few other things going on. I'm doing lots of sort of guitar playing at the moment on my own with friends and stuff like that, and seeing what happens. So there's lots of things going on. Yeah, playing. Yeah, more and more I'm doing. The more I think with production, I've learned so much about it. It's one of those things where you want to learn how everything works, and then actually you don't really feel like doing it. You know, you kind of just you're really happy. Once you understand how everything works, you're really happy. Like Martin Stevenson, you're really happy to just play. So that's more I'm interested in at the moment. I find more and more that because we can do so much with computers these days and fix so much, more and more I'm just so bored of looking at computers. I'm really fascinated by standing in a room with people and seeing what can happen. So those are the things I look for, really. interesting things, I don't know really. I've got no idea. Things happen. I'll hear something tomorrow and I'll be doing it the week after, and it sort of goes like that really.
That's obviously really good for you. It's not like there's a clear path or a direct path to something. You're I don't want to say easily distracted, stimulated.
Yeah. You've got to be. If I like something, I just want to do it. Yeah. So I think that's where it's always been. I've not really thought about it, and I think going back to the Suede records, that's why a lot of them are so odd, because we didn't really think twice about whether there's drums on this one or whether let's do the piano. Can I play the piano? Well, no, not really. But anyway, let's put the piano on it. Let's just go and do it. I'll go and do the piano. Can I play the piano? Yeah, of course I can. And stuff like that. Didn't really think twice about it. And a lot of those things, and likewise, I think with Brett, I don't think you thought twice about, can you really sing that high? You can do that falsetto, can you? And can you wear that woman's blouse? Can I wear those satin shirt? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, okay. I don't think you can think too hard about it. I mean, if anything, at the moment, what I'm trying to do mainly, what I'm really, really insistent on is playing guitar, because I'm fed up with people saying, "Oh, why don't you play guitar anymore?" and all that kind of stuff, which is not true, because I play guitar on so many records that I make, but I'm just playing guitar all the time, and also I'm really frustrated that there aren't any great guitar players around, really, or any great bands with guitar players. I don't understand it, really. It's something that I just can't fathom in the last 10 years, why people don't just pick up guitars and realise what an amazing thing it is, to become great at. There's too many people who are quite good at the guitar, quite good at the glockenspiel, can sort of play a bit of harp, play a bit of drums, whistle, upside down and stuff, but nobody who just says, you know what, I'm the guitar player, that's all I do and I'm fucking great at it, God, I really want people to do that again.
We're waiting for the next.
Not necessarily the great guitar band hope that everyone, talks about, but just people who are just great at their instruments, rather than just being mediocre at everything and making things that are quite fun, because I think a lot of that tends to leave behind music that's quite sort of, just doesn't seem to last very long. I don't know, have much depth to it. But there's always great things going on,
I believe you're doing a half marathon shortly.
Yeah, I am, yeah. Yeah, I'm running on the 10th of June. No, the 7th of October. Mustn't get the date wrong. Mustn't turn up on the wrong day. That would be really gutting. Yeah, I'm running a half marathon. It's for the Bobath Centre, which is a centre in East Finchley which helps children with cerebral palsy. And it's a wonderful place. And I'm not sort of a fantastic runner, but I'm really loving it, and it's the best thing in the world to go to run. I'm running so much at the moment in training, it's unbelievable. Just every morning, I've been out this morning, I've run like 4 miles this morning. Tomorrow I've got to run 10 miles, and I've got this mad plan every day I have to go out. But I listen to so much music when I'm running. It's the best thing in the world. There's so much stuff, and you have the maddest thoughts about music as well. So I just get mad big playlists of music that to keep me going, and you just have the strangest thoughts, and then they disappear the minute you stop. It's like a dream. But anyway, I'm doing this half marathon, and if anyone would like to donate to the cause to help me, that would be really amazing, because the main reason I'm doing it is just to raise money for Bobath Centre.
Okay, I'll put a link. Bernard, thanks very